Shabbat Shalom, and this is 10 minutes of Torah, not the 12th month of the year, and not the first month of the year, but 10 minutes of Torah. What do I mean by the 12th month of the year and the first month of the year? Well, we'll get to that momentarily. But in the meantime, this week, the Torah portion is called Pikudei. It is the very last Torah portion. There's our Torah. You can see it there in front of you. The very last Torah portion in the book of Exodus, of Shemot. And when we read it, of course, on Shabbat morning, there is a custom to stand for the very final verses, indicating that we've reached a momentous time, that is, completing another book of the Torah. So, Pikudei is it's a strange kind of word. It's translated in different ways. Our translation here says the records of, and it also can mean someone who's in charge. I guess maybe a record is, something that you record means that it tells you what's in charge. I don't know, but these are the records of the Mishkan. That's how it begins. And it completes the building of the Mishkan in the desert, and then the clothing for the Kohen Gadol and the jewelry. And then it concludes at the very end with the words, now that the tabernacle has been finished, Ki anan Adonai al hamishkan yomam ve'esh tihiyeh laila bo le'enei kol Beit Yisrael b'chol masehem. So here we are finishing the book of Exodus. Tremendous distance we've traveled, and the Hebrew tells us that over the Mishkan that they built now, the tabernacle, a cloud of the Lord rested on it by day, and then fire would appear at night, and it would accompany the entire house of Israel through their journeys. That's how it ends. Think about this. Think of the distance that we have really traveled in the book of Exodus. It started out where the people of Israel had gone down to Egypt, had multiplied, but were free people still. And it takes us all the way through being slaves, God promising to take us out, the emergence of Moses as the greatest leader certainly in Judaism and Jewish history, the plagues. Finally, we get sent out of Egypt and we go to Mount Sinai, where we receive the 10 Commandments and, according to tradition, also the Torah. And finally, we end with the building of this place to worship God in the desert. Now, it's interesting that as Exodus draws to a close now, one wonders, why do we need to build this place in the desert, this movable place, if you will, for prayer? Because prayer doesn't really exist as we know it. There's no Siddur yet. That comes much later in history. And once in a while we do encounter prayer in the Torah, but it isn't a central feature. So why, as the book of Exodus comes to a close, is it important for the Torah to tell us that this structure to pray to God, to reach God, to connect to God, this structure has been built and is now finished? So how did our ancestors actually pray during those 40 years in the desert? Well, the first thing they did was to build a place that prayer could be centralized. That is to say, it wasn't just every man or woman for themselves to pray, but rather there should be some kind of structure to it. So it begins first with a place. It's a unified structure. It's a reminder that God is the God of everybody, that nobody has special access, if you will, to God, and that although we have things like the Kohen that helps with the sacrifice, nevertheless, there is a certain egalitarianism, if you will, in this Mishkan, in this structure, in this place, in this tabernacle in the desert. Now, why is that? Why do we have that? Why is it that Exodus leaves us, takes us from becoming enslaved to being free to Mount Sinai to building this place in the desert for worship? It seems to me that it's a reminder to us, it's a lesson to us, really, that there is a certain instinct that I think every human being has regarding prayer. No structured prayer book, no music even for the prayer, and yet there's an innate desire to give thanks, to praise that which is beyond us. And so the people of Israel, having escaped the tyranny of slavery and of Pharaoh, having found freedom in the desert, the logical thing for them to do is to give thanks, to show appreciation. And that is exactly what is going on at the end of Exodus here. The people have given gifts. They're so grateful that they've given gifts. You know, you see that all the time. There are names, lots of Jewish names on institutions, especially on hospitals, because when there's gratitude for the care that has been given and someone is able to make sure that others will have that same opportunity, they give a great gift and they get their name on it. And so many different parts of hospitals, you'll notice, I'm sure, have Jewish names on them because there's just something about showing gratitude that is natural, I think, to all people, but in the Torah and here to the Jewish people. That is present even without the exact words, the desire to give thanks. Now, besides the completion of the book of Exodus, this is a special Shabbat called Shabbat HaChodesh, which means the Shabbat of the month. Hence my introduction to 10 Minutes of Torah. You see, right now we're in the 12th month of the year. We only have 12 months in Judaism. Yes, there's an additional month, but it becomes 12A and 12B. It doesn't become 12 and 13, really. That's the month of Adar. We're finishing the month of Adar, and we're starting now the very first month of Nisan. Not the 12th month, not yet the first month, 10 Minutes of Torah. Now, when I say the first month, you might say to yourself, wait a second. The year begins in the fall with Tishrei. How can Nisan be the first month and yet the year begin in the fall? Well, it's interesting. We know that in our own American society, we have different moments when different parts of the years begin. As a matter of fact, great celebration today because the baseball year begins. It's baseball season. But we have other, I won't say more serious, for those who are great baseball fans, opening day is pretty serious. But there are other very serious dates that begin and end years at different times. So, for example, a fiscal year begins July 1st. That's not the first month. January is. And the school year begins in September, not the beginning of the year. We see that many societies have lots of different beginnings to their calendars. And the same is true of Judaism. The year changes in the fall with Tishrei, but Nisan is counted as the first month. And that is why we have a special Torah reading, because we're going to begin Nisan in the coming week. And we say, about the beginning of Nisan. It is the first of months because it's the first month that we were freed in. And so it becomes month number 1. That's where we start counting, even though the years are in the fall. Well, this has been 10 minutes of Torah, not 12 months in the year. We're finishing the 12th month, and not the first month of the year, which is Nisan, which we are about to start, but 10 minutes of Torah reminding us of the innate feeling that we all have to give thanks, as we see in the Mishkan in the desert. Shabbat Shalom.